Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is a lot of skates. And the reason I have all these skates here is because we're going to go over something that the majority of people online have very wrong. And I see constant comments online, whether it be Discord servers, Facebook groups, on Reddit, or comments in my YouTube or Instagram. People don't know how to fit skates. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to get a proper fit of a skate, because the reality is you have to go in and try on skates, find out which one fits your foot. The thing I can talk about is the length of the skate. And there's a lot of skates here. A lot of them are custom, and there's a reason for that, which I'll go into. But I know how to fit the length of skates, and chances are you're in the wrong size skate. We're going to talk about these. I'll show you how to kind of get an idea of the length of what you should be going at. Kind of the general suggestion of shoe size versus skate size, because it's not what you think it is. And we're going to kind of talk about the best way you can kind of get a gauge of if your skates are too long or not. So before we jump into actually talking about how skates fit and everything like that, so if you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, check out the links in the description. In Canada, to Hockey Supremacy. In the US, to Pure Hockey. Clicking those links and making a purchase gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can make more content and doing more videos like this. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything, you can check out Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee. Everything that goes through any of those links always comes back into the channel, so I can make more videos and making more content. So first of all, as a little disclaimer, I will be talking about Superfeet in this video a little bit, and it's kind of helpful. I'm not going to go over all of the usefulnesses of Superfeet and what they do. I have a video up there that talks about Superfeet and how they work and the purpose of them and how to use them and everything like that. So watch that video if you want to know more about Superfeet. I'm not going to cover that in this instance. So we're going to cover a few things in here. We're going to cover my skate fit here, and kind of like what I've noticed on my skates, and kind of a little bit how you can tell your skates are fitting right and using insoles and stuff like that. Then we're going to look at some awkward things on skate fits and how skates are all different sizes all over the place based on the brand, so it's kind of awkward in that sense. And then we're going to look at why I think companies fit skates or recommend size fitting skates on their boxes, which are very different from what it is. And then I'm going to show you an example of how you can do it on your foot. So check out the little things below. It shows up on the timeline if you want to see a specific thing. I'll put it in the description as well, so you can skip ahead if you want to see a specific part. So we're going to go over these skates that I have right here really quickly to kind of give you an idea of what I've used. And I've used more than these. These are only the ones that I still have. I've sold skates to friends and given skates away and everything like that. So a lot of these are custom, but there are some retail ones here, and I kind of had an idea of how my foot would fit based on my previous retail skates, which were about 8.5 double E. I wear a size 11 US shoe. I can get away with a 10.5 for certain companies and for big boots, but generally for running shoes, I'm in an 11. Yes. Now, here is the thing about these skates. As you can see, 8.5 double E. This is a retail AS1. AS1, 8.5 EE. We have an AS3 Pro, also 8.5 EE. Both of these skates don't really fit me width-wise and kind of depth-wise. They're okay, almost okay depth, but width-wise, they're too tight in the forefoot, which is why all of these skates are custom, because I have a weirdly shaped foot. Chances are you don't have as weird of a shaped foot as I do, and you'll probably fit a retail skate, but that's why I have a lot of customs here. True is kind of my first dive into custom skates, and CCM happily sent me a pair of these, so I'm very excited to try these on, but that's a different whole story. The other retail skate I have here is this Bauer Connect, and this one is a different size because this is a size 9. When you can see it says fits 9 to 9.5 for skate sizes. This is a weirder skate, but we'll talk about this just for a second in a little bit. Now, the whole point of skate fit and everything, and the big problem about skate fit online, is everyone goes by these sizing on here, which all the stores put up because, well, we'll get that in a second. But as you can see, shoe size 10 US, skate size 8.5. Like I said, I'm an 11 US, or 10.5 if it's a bigger fitting boot or shoe. Mostly I'm an 11. That's a big difference, as you can. It's a whole size difference. So that theoretically, I would be in a 9.5 skate size, and that would be way too long and massive. People don't actually like how skates are supposed to fit properly, and they're too used to shoes and stuff like that of how things are worn. But really, there should be worn like athletic footwear, like ski boots, stuff like that, and like soccer cleats, where you need as little negative space as possible. And negative space is the space inside of a boot that is not being taken up by your foot. So if you have any gaps anywhere, that's a negative space. Now, there are companies also that make like foam pieces to reduce negative space in toe box. That's not what we're talking about, because we're looking for length, specifically length. I worked at a hockey store for many years, and I fit skates for a while. And the biggest issue with kids and with adults going into a skate, and first of all, they look at this and say, okay, I'm in a 10 US shoe, so I need a size 9 skate. Like, no, you don't, you need this. I'm like, well, no, I need that. So you have to kind of prove to people that no, your skate's too big. The other problem is the second you put this skate on, anytime someone feels their toe at the end, they instantly hate it and say it's too small. Oh, I can feel my toes, this is gonna hurt. They don't even do it up. They don't even kick their heels back. They just put it in, feel the toes, they instantly hate it. People always hate feeling the toes. That's what, again, you don't want negative space. So really, if your toe's here and your heel is coming off the back, they still think it doesn't fit because they can feel their toes, but really your heel is gonna slide back here. The other thing about this is skates kind of need to be baked to be fit. And I know some stores aren't going to be thrilled to hear that. And there's the whole, you can only bake skates so many times, which is true. But all the foams back here and everything really mold into your foot. You can see how that heel pocket like kind of molds directly in there. So if this isn't baked to your foot, and say this padding is a little bit more out there and your heel is a little wider, it's going to push your heel forward and your toes will be too far up. There's a specific pair of skates that was a pain to get people fit in. And that was the Bauer Nexus. I think it was the one ends. Might have been two ends, but I'm pretty sure it was the one ends, because this heel piece was, the padding back here was so thick. If you didn't bake them first, it would basically put a pen's length, or I should say pencil or finger's width of space back here away from the back of the boot and push you forward. So your toes would instantly be jammed. So I put on a Bauer Nexus one end, I think it was an 8.5 double E, and my toes were right jammed at the top. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like, there's no way they screwed up the sizing. So I threw it in the oven, kicked my heels back, tied them up snug, and then my heels slid back and they were a perfect fit. And that's kind of the idea, is you have to kind of bake these a bit to get these foams to really mold into your ankle shape, so it kind of molds in. Because if you just do this up, this is a pretty firm foam right here, and if it doesn't fit your foot right, your ankle's not really going to get in there and it's going to push it up. So you do have to bake the skates. Sorry, those hockey stores and stuff, but that's what you have to do. You have to get that to get a real idea of how these are going to fit. So the other part about that whole negative space thing, and this was another huge issue with people, is if they felt anything on the sides, like here or here, instant, nope, too small, too tight. And it was a real pain and pressure point basically to tell people, okay, if this doesn't hurt, and it's just snug, you're gonna be okay. And that's kind of what we want, because we can bake this and it will open up a little bit, and then you can also break them in and you're gonna be okay. You just don't want your toes to be like basically like this on each other on the side. You want them touching or really, really close to touching. We're so used to flexibility of shoes where you just stick your toe out and a shoe goes with you and you feel no resistance. That feeling something like this and going like that, they just hate it. And they hate the feeling of it. So that's the other part, is people always want to go in a wider boot. And then if you're in a double E, can't go wider. So like, oh, well, let's go half a size bigger. It doesn't work that way. It's massive struggle to really get people to be okay with their toes touching. So there's basically 3 types of skate fits. There's the pro fit, there's the kind of relaxed fit, and then there's the room to grow fit. Room to grow fit is obviously for kids, teenagers, people who are growing up and are going to grow into skates. You generally fit them a little bigger so they can grow into them. It sucks as a fitter because you don't want someone in the skate that's too big. CCM has made tongues that kind of remove some of that space and you can adjust it, which is a nice thing, so you can kind of get negative space. Insoles like this, which help lock the foot in place, also help with kind of that room to grow thing in there. We're not going to really talk about that anymore here, because this is specifically about the proper skate fit of someone who's just buying a skate to fit. This is my pro fit of a skate. This is a size basically an 8. As you can see, my other ones were 8.5. So that's an 11 shoe down to an 8 skate. And this is the pro fit. Now I could wear an 8 in this one and my toes, they could work, but I'll explain that in a second. When I put this skate on, and this is after it was baked as well. So I baked it, put my foot in, my toes were absolutely jammed on the end. And that's when you're standing up. That's how they're kind of supposed to be. That is an absolute pro fit. Your toes are right into the end and they're basically like this, but ideally not scrunch, but all your toes are touching the ends. And the reason being is when you bend your knee, your feet go from like full out and they kind of pull back a bit. So when you're standing up totally, the arch of your foot is kind of collapsed. And then when you bend your knees, it kind of goes up like this and your toes kind of pulled in a bit. Bad example with my hand. I don't want to show you my foot, but Superfeet is a really good thing for that and why I have these specifically. So with these, without Superfeet, I basically couldn't wear them because my toes were so jammed in the end. Just wasn't comfortable enough for me. Again, if you're in a pro fit and you're always going, it's good. I was coaching wearing these and it hurt a lot. So I had to make sure I went with the super feet way, and then it pulled the toes back. Here are my foot kind of mold on the super feet. And these skates, or I should say this insole, was cut specifically to fit these skates. You can see how close my toes are to the ends. This is the pro fit. This is what you want in your skate. This is like basically all the toes, my biggest toes, which is my middle toe and my big toe right there, are touching the ends of the skates all the way. My other toes kind of come off a little bit, but that's the idea of it right here. This is what you're looking for in this. And insoles are a pretty good idea of how a skate is going to fit if like you have the pressure points on it and kind of show you. That is if you trim it properly. Some insoles don't need, like the stock ones don't need to be trimmed really, but if they have the custom ones like these from CCM, these have to be trimmed to fit, and obviously super feet trimmed to fit, stuff like that. So if you just have the stock ones or like black ones, generally you don't have to trim. You can take a look at where your pressure points are. Gives you a general good idea of where the skate fit is. That is to say you have to make sure your heel is always in the back. You can cheat this because if you go forward a bit on the heel and your skates are too big, but you still have that gap back here. For example, with all this massive padding back here, if your heel's never back there, then you're kind of going to be in a skate that's half a size too big. Your toes are going to look fine, but there's going to be space in the heel. So you have to make sure that heel is always locked back there as well. So this Pro Fit is the best fitting skate for performance, but I rarely recommend this type of fit to anyone. I always go with the more relaxed because personally, I can't wear these if I'm not just straight out playing all the time and making sure my knees are always bent. They're kind of uncomfortable, but it's the best performance fitting for the skate itself. I always suggest going to the relaxed fit, and this one are all the relaxed fit, and that's where that 8.5 comes in and not that 8. So this ends up being what my relaxed fit insole looks like. This is coming straight out of this skate, which I wear the most out of all these and has worked really well for me. You can see a little bit of that difference and gap on that big toe. You still have a few millimeters there. So it's still right at the edge, and that big toe is basically coming right here. It's right at the edge, but it's not too much. Now this, again, is for basically an 8.5 skate. They are custom, but it's basically an 8.5. And I asked for half in size in the toe, just so if pucks hit the toe, you have a little bit more room. And as well, that way, when I'm standing up, not doing anything as a goalie for some part of the game, my toes aren't all jammed on the ends, and this is super comfortable to me. And this is what I go for all of my skates, basically, and all my custom ones as well. So as you can see, that toe doesn't go all the way to the end. The big toe is basically right there, but that does give you a little bit more room in that toe box. And this is the max I would ever recommend people going for room in your toe, unless you're in room to grow, obviously, but we're not talking about that. So this is the max space you really want to see in your footbed when you take them out and you see your imprint. Just examples of this in the real world. These are my producer skates. These are a 4 double E as you can see. She wears, I can't remember what size she wears. Anyways, she was in a size 5 player skate when I met her. And once we started dating, I was like, those skates are too big for you. I'm fixing this. She's like, no, they're fine. She wouldn't want new ones. Brought her into the store I worked at, fit her up, put these on. She's like, these are a little tight. She's like, I don't like them. My toes are too tight. I'm like, just put them on, bake them. You're buying them. I know they fit. She wore them. She's like, oh, these are amazing. Like, this is it. This was the proper fit. She went down from a 5, which was too big, to a 4 double E. So that's sometimes what you have to do too, is you have to go down but wider. Sometimes people compensate for needing a wider skate with length. This might have been the example here. I didn't fit her for the first skates. I don't know what they went with for that first skate. She did have to go from a D to a double E. So she had to go a bit wider to get a little bit more room so her foot was comfortable. And here you can see where her toes end up lining up. So you can see the end of her big toe goes about right there. The middle toe is right at the end. And you can see the other ones too. So that's a little bit, she could have probably gone down to a 3.5 if I was crazy, but going down that big of a jump already was enough, and those fit very well, as you can see right there. Obviously, these are also trimmed, but I did the trimming. They were right, and that is how she fits in that toe box, and that is exactly what you're looking for. And again, this is more of a relaxed fit, and that's the max amount of room I would really ever recommend people to get. And now going on a little bit of a rant, because skate sizing is always, or it can be different depending on the brand and everything. And this is a perfect example of that. So this is a Bauer Connect skate. Yeah, it's a crazy looking goalie skate, ignoring all the crazy stuff. You can see here, it says it's a length 9 and it fits a 9 and 9.5. So the weird thing about this skate, and I've seen a ton of people online being like, oh yeah, it totally fits these sizes. And they're like, oh, this is my shoe size. The only reason this skate fits their recommended sizes is because they did like that half size thing where you can't fit in both ways. I should be, according to real skate fits and my skate fits, be able to fit in an 8 in these, and my toes were just so jammed on here that it was like worse than the pro fit of these. So it was a really awkward thing, and I know a lot of people have bought these skates based on their correct skate size fitting and not Bauer's and like the hockey company's size fitting on the box, and they've gotten skates that are simply too small and had to get rid of them. So that's disappointing, and it's really annoying when companies kind of do stuff like that. Another company that kind of did weird skate size fit things was True, specifically with actually the TF line of skates. So not the Catalyst. The Catalyst they fix. The TF line specifically, which I have videos up there, where you had to go at least a half size smaller than what you were used to. I wore an 8 wide in a TF skate, and it was still long and wide, so I could have actually gone down probably to a 7.5. It was a massive fitting skate, and then the Catalyst, they fix it completely, and I was at 8.5 wide on these, and it was all good. So one of the big frustrating points of this, and why a lot of people are in skates that are fitted the wrong way, especially when people are kind of newer to hockey. Generally, I found that people who play competitive hockey, the higher level they go, the more their skates fit them. So a couple of my teams are really good, where all the players are really good. They all have the right size fitting skates, or they're like half a size off at max. Otherwise, it's not that close. So the reason I think this is awkward is because, well, companies say like a 10 and 8.5, or I'm an 11 and 8.5. Specifically, people don't like how these fit. And I talked about like if they even feel a little bit of toes on somewhere, they're not going to like it. Now, companies have to kind of take that into account. They also have to take into account that these are sold in big box stores. And I don't just mean Pro Hockey Life. That is a big box store, and the chance of you getting a correct fit at a store like that is depending on who's working. I know a couple Pro Hockey Lives where there were some excellent skate fitters, and then if you went 20 minutes later when that guy was on break, you're in bad luck. So it all depends on like the store and stuff. And you have to think, if you're in the US, you're looking at like Dick's Sporting Goods or Canadian Tire in Canada, who is like selling skates and fitting skates, or for a Sport Check, and someone puts a skate on and their toes are touching, and they're like, oh, this is way too small. That person doesn't understand really how these are supposed to fit correctly, and they have to kind of argue with them and know this fits right. This is not what you're used to. Putting someone who is a 10 US shoe in this skate and having like that much room in the toe box where it doesn't touch, you're like, oh yeah, it feels right. It feels comfortable and everything, but that's not right. So they kind of have to, and I feel, really deal with the not proper fits everywhere. And just to kind of point out where, yes, I am wearing the right size skates. This is a 3D scan. This is a 3D scan. This is a 3D scan. That's a 3D scan. That's a 3D scan. And that's how my skates all ended up. And while they don't directly say, like this CCM doesn't say, oh, it's an 8.5, you can just check what the size of the holders are, and you can check them out compared to retail. And I didn't order like a custom size holder on those. I just ordered, just put the holder that it fits. It ends up matching what the 8.5 wide would be. This one ended up matching what the 8 was. This is also the 8.5. So you can just kind of tell based on that with customs, and again, scanned to that size of a foot. So hockey companies also have the whole online aspect too. So especially if you order online and you're trying to fit yourself, it is really hard for a company, and it would, like, I have a feeling this deals with less returns, because if people put the proper size skate, so if you had 11 and 8.5 and your toes are all touching everywhere, no baking, plus this is pushing it out, they're all instantly going to be like, oh, this doesn't fit, needs to do a return just like that. So again, it have to be properly fit. It's hard to do like just an order online and put it on yourself and you'll get fit. It's difficult. You kind of have to know what you're doing. So that is tough in that regard. So I kind of understand why they do this. I just hate it because it leads to a lot of problems. This is basically a daily question online of skate fit, and people are generally wrong. I've had, unfortunately, a lot of arguments with people on Reddit and Discord, which you should totally join the Reddit Discord, because people can give advice and stuff, and you can contact me there too. But there's been so many arguments, people being like, oh, my skates fit totally fine, but my feet hurt and they fit like this. And it's like, no, your skates are too big. Your skates are too big. No, they're not. They're not. Your skates are too big. Go down at least a full size and go from there. No, they're too big. They go down a full size or a size and a half, come back like, wow, these skates feel so much better when I'm skating. Again, this stuff. So it's really frustrating. So if you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, check out the links in the description. In Canada, to Hockey Supremacy. In the US, to Pure Hockey. Clicking those links and making a purchase gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can make more content and doing more videos like this. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without buying anything, you can check out Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee. Everything that goes through any of those links always comes back into the channel so I can make more videos and making more content. All right, so you can do a few things with your foot in the skate to get an idea of like how well they actually fit, and a pen is very useful for this, and we'll show it off. The thing that does actually make a difference in skate fit, and it's not really the length, it's more of the width, is socks. So I have my favorite pair of socks, which are the Cut Shield socks. Check them out, they're pretty awesome. They're kind of a medium thickness. They're a lot thinner than like the Bauer cut resistant ones and stuff like that. And I have like, I've seen the Howie ones are thinner than that. Then there's a super thin. So these, they're called Toughen Lights, and they're called super thins. You can see my foot through how thin these are. When I wear my custom true ones like these, I have to go super thin like this, or else the width hurts too much. So this actually does matter, but it's more of a width thing than it is a length thing. So what I'm gonna do here is unlace the eyelets pretty far. That way you can really pull the tongue forward and slide your foot forward. Because a decent test to, if you're questioning if the length is too long, is to get you can push all your toes as far as possible forward, and then try to slide a pen behind the heel, and it gives you an idea. Hopefully it'll be a right fit, and that heel will kind of stay on the back, and you won't really be able to go all the way down the skate. So with these ones, open it up, put your foot in, can lift that up and slide it forward. So all my toes are totally jammed against the ends right now, and they're really crushed in there. I'm really sliding it forward. And then you have your heel. So you slide your pen back there, and that one, it does get stuck at the very like fat pad of my foot, and that's with my toes jammed all the way forward, like they're crunched. If I push them back a little bit, let's take this out for a sec. So they're just, all of them are just touching. So all my toes are still like actually making contact. My middle toe, which is bigger, is still crunched. You put it back there and it can't even go down all the way because it hits that heel. So when you really crunch, you might be able to push it further, but obviously you don't want the whole crunch. So as long as they're all touching and you slide that in and it hits your heel and you can't go any further, you're good. So the other thing is the pencil test. Obviously this is a pen, but the idea of it is you run a pen or pencil along the eyelets like this and make sure it doesn't hit your instep and the inner part of your foot like this right here. And the idea behind this is if you have your foot coming too far out, you will get lace bite when you tie the skates, because the tongue pressure and the lace pressure is going to go right onto here and not actually the eyelets themselves. It's not a foolproof test because it doesn't necessarily mean you'll get lace bite. You kind of it's a kind of a person per person basis, but it gives you a good idea. If you're way out here all the way, the skate's obviously not the right depth for you, so you have to figure that out. But like this one, obviously customs are totally fine in that regards. So here we'll take a look at the retail skate and slide my foot in there. And again, pen test is totally fine, but once again, it's not really a tell-all, it's just an idea. So as my foot is sitting right here before I do anything, the heel is in the back. These have been baked to me. And when I flatten my feet, toes out all the way, my big toe is just touching right here, and my middle toe is just touching the end tube, just barely touching. And that is because I do want that relaxed fit. I don't want it totally jammed. Whereas in this skate, when I'm just normal, all those toes are touching when I'm in this position. Now here's the other thing. I said when you stand up, your toe or your feet kind of collapse and spread out. So when I stand out here, all of my toes are now touching the end. That is the big difference, and how you can tell a big difference between like the pro fit and the regular fit. This style of fit right now, how this feels with all the toes touching everywhere and kind of crunched, is the pro fit. You bend your knee, your foot comes back, and then it's just the big toe and the middle toe just brushing, which is that relaxed fit. But again, that pen test on the heel, what you do here, sliding my foot forward, so it is more forward than it would be normally. Every single toe is touching on the edges. The big toe is kind of crunched on the edge. You bend your knee forward a bit, slide a pen back here, and you can see I can't even get that all the way down. It's hitting my, like the foot basically, and that is there. So that's the proper fit. There is enough room to go forward and back. You can't even get a pen back there when the toes are all the way on the end. So something else I saw online is people mentioning they can barely get their foot in when they don't like undo these, and like, oh, that means it fits right. No, not at all. In order for me to get any of my skates in, and my custom skates are even worse for this, I have to take 2 eyelets out and of the lacing, and then loosen all the laces, open the tongue, slide my foot in, and then I can tie them up and put it through there. But always undo these, because that's basically the only way to get in. And if you can't like actually get your foot in without undoing them, maybe they fit, but chances are, from what I've seen, your skates don't fit. Now, some people only have to do one this, and that's fine. It's all different for everybody. I have a pretty big foot like this, so it makes it harder, but that does not mean your skate fits if you can. Oh, it's tight when I try to get them on and off. That means absolutely nothing. So to get an idea as well on how to, like, when these are all laced up, when you're in this spot, bang that heel. You can do it a couple times. That way your heel kind of goes back in this pocket more. And you do want to do that a little softer if it's just baked so it doesn't kill it. And then just tie them up snug so it does pull your heel back. And then that will give you the best idea of where your toes are going to end up. I'm not going to do this all the way up, because if I do that part tight right where we are right now, it's going to keep my heel in place. And then that would be how I wear them. And I can tell right now, just in this position, where the only toe that is kind of coming to the ends right here is that big toe and that middle toe, and it's only if I stretch it. But when I stand up, I can feel them touch more. Again, that's that your knees bent part where your toes pull back. But that is how you kind of want to get a feel of them. You can start with it unlaced, jam your toes forward, see how much is in the back, and then right now you can't get back there at all anyways, because of obviously it's tied up. The other thing to look for in this, and this is one of the more hard parts, because it's hard to judge if someone's actually lifting their heel up, you want to make sure there's no heel slippage in the skate at all. So this is better when it's after it's baked, because the foams will be kind of molded to you. But you want to put it on, you want to tie it up like you would, hold the sides down and try to get the person to lift, or this is going to be you, lift your heel out of the back. And if it is lifting, you generally don't have good heel like wrap, and the heel is going to be too big. You can do rubbing, which can cause blisters, but that is one of the problems. This one is totally locked in and not going anywhere. When I lift that heel up and try to lift my leg up, it stays within the skate. So finally, one last little word of advice of what not to do. I have had a bunch of people in my personal experience come into me before and try to get size for skates, and in their mind, they're saying, no, I need a bigger size because that means my foot's bigger. It's some macho thing, because it's only ever happened to men. One, if you can get into a 5.5 skate, it's generally, it used to be junior, now it's intermediate size skates. I think the 6 might be intermediate now. You're getting a really good skate for less money. Hope you can go in there because you can save money. I've had people in the past that were like teetering a 5.5 and a 6, and they wanted to go bigger, so they were in a senior skate because they're like, oh, I'm an adult. I don't need junior or intermediate skates. I need senior skates. Fit your skate. There's no macho-ness here. There's nothing. Get a skate that fits you. You're going to be better in the long run. That's the whole point. Every time I ever fit a woman in that sense of anywhere near that size of 5.5, they always tried to get smaller into that intermediate or junior size to save money. And genius move. Most of them fit in it, and they were happy. Like, yes, I saved $200 on this. That's awesome. Or even more than that oftentimes. And they're instantly happy to go down in there, where it happened to be a male thing. I also had people come in and say, oh, I need size 9 skates because I wear a 9 shoe, and anything lower than a 9 shoe isn't good enough. And I sized them up, and they were like a 7, if that. And I'm just like, look, I wear 11 shoe. I'm in an 8.5 skate. Like, no, I need a 9. I need a 9. And he was like, you don't. Remember, this video is not an all-to guide of follow these guides and this will tell you how to fit a skate, because I'm not here for that. You have to try them on. Obviously, skates come in different widths as well, and like different depths to them. So you have to try them on to get a skate that fits kind of your foot profile and foot shape. I have custom skates because my feet are weird. Now, if you also come on in here and say, I wear a size 10 shoe, what size skate should I wear, Hockey Reviews? I'm not going to answer the question, because you have to try them on and take a look. You can watch this video. You can go on my comparisons of my skate size compared to what I'm wearing retail, but you have to try them on. Always. That's the end result. If you can go to a shop and get fit, keep this information in mind in the back of your head and think about what I'm talking about with the toes pulling back, where your toes are touching, like when you lift the tongue up and push it forward. Keep all that in mind, but listen to the person, because like I said, sometimes the retail depends who you get, and see what they're saying and kind of make conclusions off that. I can't give out recommendations, because without me seeing your foot and seeing a skate on your foot, I can't give you a straight up recommendation. But Generally speaking, when I always tell people online your skates are too big, it's because they tell me their skate size. I ask, well, this isn't science, but what's your shoe size? And it's way out of proportion. So hopefully this video was helpful. Hopefully it kind of gives you a look into what you should actually be wearing, because a lot of people online are in the very wrong skate size. Remember, subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. If this video was helpful, please reach out to companies if you buy skates from. Let them know my content was helpful to you. Be greatly appreciated. So if you want to support the channel and you're buying hockey equipment anyways, and you live in Canada, United States, check out the links in the description. In Canada, to hockey supremacy; in the United States, to pure hockey. Clicking those links, making a purchase, gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can buy more gear and do more reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, check out Patreon and buy me a coffee. Everything that always goes through those links always comes back into the channel. Hockey equipment is expensive. Doing this is not a cheap hobby, so it would be greatly appreciated for your support. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.